You're listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive mental attitude.
Morning, Patrick.
Morning, Martin. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, it's a lovely day, isn't it?
Blue sky in October still. Temperature's up to 21.
I know. And today we've got someone very exciting to talk to about something we haven't done before. So it's always nice to do new subjects, isn't it? So
if you're okay, I'll leave you to do the introduction on this one.
All right. Well, today we're excited to talk about this subject. We haven't spoken much of it in our podcast before, and unfortunately, what we're going to talk about has happened to one of my good friends, Lesley, and she's here with us now. So, good morning, Lesley.
Good morning,
Hi,
Lesley.
Martin. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
We're good, and thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
well, anything to help.
Yeah, well, as I said, if we can help one person in the world, so today we're talking about all your what happened to you, and how long ago was it now?
It was February the 15th last year, so about 18 months ago now.
And was that a couple of weeks after coming to see me sing?
I'm sure that played a great part in it. Yeah.
Probably during you were singing, I would have thought.
Yeah. It should be a hearing thing, yeah. Okay, so Lesley, if you can take us back.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh, sorry. Well, I was going to let Lesley tell us. So, Lesley, if you can talk about how it all started and.
Okay. Well, February last year, just out of the blue, I had a stroke. Totally shocking. Before my stroke, right, I'm 62. I'm 62 now, so I was 61 when it happened. So relatively young for a stroke. I worked full time in a very stressful job. I had high blood pressure, but that was well controlled by medication. I was overweight. And I had a stressful incident in work, which really upset me. So the next day I was working from home and I was still upset about it. So I arranged a Zoom call with my team manager to tell her about what had happened, and the stress of reciting it and reliving that incident caused a spike in my blood pressure, which caused this stroke. Now it was called a subarachnoid hemorrhage, which is actually due to a spike in your blood pressure. And it's a massive bleed under one of the protective layers of your brain. So it's different from a clot or an aneurysm. Mine was a huge bleed, which left a big puddle of blood. So my symptoms were this terrible, terrible pain in my head, pain like I've never known before. I thought my head was going to explode. And I was saying, oh God, my head, what's happening? And my left arm was flailing around uncontrollably.
Wow.
Then my legs went numb and my arm was flying around. I was hitting myself in the face. I just didn't know what was going on. I was panicking. I was scared. And I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. A stroke didn't even enter my mind. I thought, because of all the stress, I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. So my line manager said, this is not normal behaviour. If you can, get to your phone your husband, you need to go to A&E. So I managed to grab my phone and he came home, and my line manager was still on the Zoom call, and he told me later this had been going on for an hour by now.
Right.
And so he got me to A&E and plonked me in a wheelchair, wheeled me through, and I was crying, I didn't know what was going on. My arm was still flailing around. So they took me straight through. And I can't remember much more of that day. I believe that I had scans. I remember my husband sitting there crying. I remember my daughters arriving and they were crying. And then the next thing was I was in an ambulance being blue lighted over to Walton Hospital, which is in Liverpool, and that's a hospital of excellence for neurological problems. So I was really lucky that this hospital is so close by to where we live. And I remember being in the ambulance and the paramedic saying, if anything happens on the way, we'll deal with it. I'm thinking, oh God, what is going on? I was just so scared. So in Walton, I had oxygen tubes up my nose. I was on drips. I was still getting this terrible pain in my head, and they were giving me Oromorph for the pain, which was making me sick. And I don't know when I first became aware that I couldn't move. All my left-hand side was paralyzed. I mean, thank God I'm right-handed. So that was a blessing. So anyway, I was in this bed and I was propped up with pillows, and it was like my independence and all my dignity had gone because I had to have bed baths. I had to use a bedpan. I had to have somebody wiping me bum. And there was all these emotions. I was scared. I was angry. I was really angry. Why has this happened to me? And I just felt so helpless lying in this.
Were you aware then that you'd had a stroke?
Yeah, they told me by then that I'd had this brain hemorrhage. They said a massive bleed on your brain. And they couldn't see under the puddle of blood why I'd had this bleed at that time. It wasn't until weeks later that they realised that I didn't have a tumour and I didn't have an aneurysm. It was just this explosion because of my blood pressure. So yeah, as I was in Walton for a few weeks, I had panic attacks because I couldn't move. I hated being so reliant on other people.
Yeah, when you've been independent, you've been so independent, and then suddenly it's taken away from you.
Yeah, it was awful feeling.
Are you right-handed or left-handed, Lesley?
I'm right-handed. I was so lucky.
Yeah, you were talking about phoning your husband when this was all happened, and your left hand was flying about everywhere. That's why I asked, really, because obviously, you know,
I don't know how I managed it. But I always had my mobile next to me anyway, when I was working from home. So yeah, I managed to do that somehow. So I was in Walton for a couple of weeks, still with the pain in my head. They were still trying to control my blood pressure.
So that never went away then?
Not for about 3 weeks, no.
Wow.
No, and I was terrified that I was going to have another stroke. As I say, I was on these drips. I kept having scans, and it was over 2 weeks before I started any physio. And they didn't really do much of that at Walton. And all they did was, I'll say all they did, they started me off by trying to sit me up, and all my balance had gone. I had to have 3 people to help me to sit up because I would just fall forwards, backwards, sideways. So that was the first thing, trying to get my core strength back again. Because I was being hoisted all the time.
Okay.
They would hoist me out of the bed and sit in the chair and prop me up with pillows so that I didn't fall. And then the same again, hoisted out of the chair and back into the bed. And that was it. That was all I could do.
I remember calling you, and when you was in hospital and all that, and I remember when you took your first step, and you were so pleased with yourself and all that, and I was
Yeah,
obviously pleased for you.
that was weeks after. That was
Yeah.
weeks after. Of course, my family were devastated. Going over to Walton every day to see me, it was more than an hour's journey and quite an expensive trip as well. So I asked if I could be moved to a hospital nearer to home.
Yeah.
So then I got moved to a hospital nearer home in Chester. I was on the stroke rehabilitation ward. But I was in the men's bay because there was no room in the women's bay. So I had to stay there for 2 days. That was horrendous. Nobody got any sleep. And then when I got onto the women's ward, that's when the physio started properly. But all the wards all the people that I met, the patients on the wards, I would say 3 people had the typical symptoms of a stroke. As you see on the advert on the telly, like your face drooping, losing your speech. Everybody was different. What seemed to happen a lot was that people just felt unwell, a bit off colour the day before and had gone to bed, and then wake up the next morning, and that's when their speech had gone.
Yeah.
Very few people had the iconic symptoms. And one man, he was thinking one thing. He was telling his wife that he was going to go out, but what came out of his mouth was, "I've got a plate of sausages."
Blimey.
So random, so unrelated, a load of rubbish. But he thought he was telling his wife that he was going out for the day.
Yeah.
He knew immediately that something was wrong. Took him straight to A&E, where they scanned him, and they said, "You've had a stroke." And he was totally baffled because that's the only symptom he had. So really,
you've obviously you're going to start your rehab now. So can you talk us through what you had to do, obviously, to get back on your feet again? And obviously it was little steps.
Yeah, it was lots of physio, small exercises, but repeat, because it was explained to me in hospital that the pathways between my brain and the parts of my body on the left-hand side, it was like travelling down the motorway, and the motorway was now blocked. There'd been an accident. So now I had to bypass the motorway and find new routes to these parts of my body that weren't working. So doing repetitive exercises was helping to build new neuro pathways to my left-hand side. And so we started off with my hand, and at first all I could do was move my fingers, and then I could move my wrist, then I could raise my arm, but I was desperate to walk. I so needed to walk. There was no way I was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I was just determined. So then I was moved to another hospital, even closer to home, and this was a proper rehab hospital. It was good because I was getting the physio, although I had to really press for it every day. I was like, "What are we doing today? What time are you coming for me today? Give me something to do while I'm sitting here," because everybody was old.
Right.
I was the baby. I was called the baby. Because everybody was like in their 80s, and so and they were just sitting in bed, because I said, "Is there a lounge here where you can go and sit and watch the telly?" And somebody said to me, "Nobody walks in here."
Really?
And that stuck in my brain. I thought, oh my God, I need to walk. I have got to walk again. So they stood me up first of all, by the side of my bed. Again, 3 people holding me because I had no strength. I had no feeling in my left-hand side whatsoever. Couldn't feel my foot.
So at this time, how far were you into your stroke?
A month, 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Yeah. I mean, my progress was incredible. The nurses said it was incredible, that they couldn't believe how fast I gained everything back. But it was just sheer determination and hard work, really hard work. Eventually I got through. They took me down to the physio room where the parallel bars were. And so I stood up holding onto these parallel bars, and there was a mirror so that I could see myself. And it's like yesterday, like a flashback. I'll never forget watching myself walk again for the first time.
Yeah.
And I couldn't control my leg. My leg was going out to the side and my foot was just plonking down wherever. But I kept going and I kept going and I kept practicing until I could take a step with people holding me. And we just built it up day after day until I was, they used to wrap a sheet around my waist and hold me from the back. And then I would walk a few steps myself. Then I practiced my balance, and they'd put sticky Post-it notes on the wall, and I'd have to reach up high to get them and reach down low to get them. And I said to my husband, and I promised myself that I would learn everything that I needed to be able to go home and be able to function at home. I didn't want to stay in there a minute longer than I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was lovely and the staff were amazing. But I just wanted to go home. I missed my dogs. Oh God, I cried over my dogs. But the good thing about the rehab hospital was, because it was a rehab hospital, pets were allowed in. So my dogs, so the dogs could come and visit me. Oh God, I cried my eyes out. I was so happy to see my dogs.
Yeah.
So that helped in my rehabilitation as well, mentally, I suppose. So eventually I managed to get up and down a step. They did a kitchen assessment on me while I was there. And so I said to the consultant, when can I go home? Because I felt I'd learnt enough to cope at home.
And how far were we down the line by then?
This was just 6 weeks. I'd been in the rehab place for just over 2 weeks, and they couldn't believe it. And so he said, you can go home tomorrow if you want to. So I said, right, yeah, okay, I will. But it was in the back of my mind that the physio man had said, stay as long as you can and learn everything you can, because once you go home, the physio in the community will only be once a week, whereas you're getting it every day here. Yeah. So I was mindful of that. So anyway, I went home. My family and friends had been amazing. They'd been coming to see me every day. They were so supportive, so amazing. My poor husband, he was coming twice a day. He was massaging my left foot, to try and help to get the feeling back. And he was doing the physio exercises with me, as were my daughters. Everybody played their part.
So this was 6 weeks from admission to going home.
To going home, right. And it was just amazing. It was incredible. They'd never known anything like it before.
Especially if you was in a ward where they said you weren't going to walk.
I know, but I thought, oh no, I've got to. I've got grandchildren to play with. I've got dogs that I need to walk. I was only 61. Thought I've got years ahead of me. No, it's not for me. I'm not staying in a wheelchair.
So you were going home after 6 weeks, on a percentage basis, how far would you say you were from being back to normal?
I was still a long way from being back to normal. I still couldn't feel, I still can't feel my left-hand side of my body. I describe it as like having a needle in the dentist when they numb your face to have a fill in, and that's how it feels. It feels numb. It's a weird sensation. So yeah, but I'm just so lucky and grateful that I am where I am now.
So you must be on fair amount of medication or anything like that, Lesley?
Yeah, I'm on lots of medication. I mean, when I got home, and that was correct. I did only have the physio lady. Well, she was an occupational therapist. She came once a week, so I felt it was different being in the hospital, having all that support. And then when you get home, you think, yeah, you can do it. And you can, but it's scary. It's really scary being there on my own, thinking, oh, God, how am I going to get to the kitchen? Yeah, but, you cope. You've got to be strong-willed. And I was fortunate because my friend, my daughter's friend, is a physio, and he specialised in stroke rehab. So he came to see me at home and assessed me. And he's got like his own company. He has his own room attached to a gym. And so my daughter took me to see him once a week, and he did intensive therapy, physiotherapy with me. We built up into doing balancing exercises and step work, and I had to pay for this privately, and I went to see him for months and months, and we worked really well together. And I came on, I was going to say leaps and bounds. Yeah, and he really helped me. And of course, I was doing physio with my husband at home every day as well. So I worked really hard. And as to how I am now, chronic fatigue. I suffer with chronic fatigue still. And I think that's quite a common symptom. Even something simple like putting a couple of loads of washing on and hanging it out. And that's me. I'm absolutely knackered.
Right.
Yeah. And then I can feel ill for maybe 2 or 3 days afterwards. It's like jet lag feeling. You feel sick and so tired. So I have to be mindful of my time management and planning my days. If I know I've got an event coming up, I will rest maybe certainly 1 day before. I won't do anything to build my strength up to do whatever I'm going to be doing the next day. And then I'll take it easy the day after.
Did the doctors actually give you a reason why it happened? I know you said a bit of stress and things like that, but have they officially given you a reason?
Yeah, they said it was a spike in my blood pressure.
Right,
Due to stress.
Yeah. Well, I know certainly with what you've gone through, it's helped one person that I know, because my wife has gone through exactly the same thing with very high blood pressure. You've led her an example to get it checked, really, and she's under the doctor at the moment. So it's a good thing, and also talking about this now, because if someone can hear what you're saying and think, oh God, that's similar to what I had, or whatever, and people will see the symptoms, hopefully.
Yeah.
So how old are your grandchildren, Lesley?
Benjamin's 15. Olivia is 9.
Right.
And Faith is 6.
Right. So you've got 1 or 2 that probably want your time when they're with you.
Yeah. They came to see me in hospital, and they made me cards and drew me pictures. So I had them stuck up on the wall by me bed. And it impacted them so much as well. And I felt guilty. I felt guilty for that. Guilty for putting them through all this heartache. And I wanted to get better, not only for myself, but for them as well. I felt a burden because I couldn't do what I used to be able to do. I was immobile. I was in a wheelchair for a while. Now I use a mobility scooter because I can't walk very far. And I hate the thing. I absolutely hate it. I resent it. But the choice is I either sit in the house and do nothing, or I go out on the mobility scooter.
Yeah.
So it's a no-win situation, no-brainer really, isn't it? I have to use it. But you know, they would have to take me everywhere, give me lifts, help me to walk. But then the DVLA said that I could drive again. I could drive an automatic, because of course my right leg was good, so I could just use my right foot on the pedals. So I got a mobility car in April this year, and bearing in mind by that time I hadn't driven for 14 months. And I'd never driven an automatic before. So I had the car for about 3 weeks and it just sat there. I was too scared to get in it. I just kept looking at it. It was beautiful. It's yellow, little Picanto, beautiful. And so then I went out with my husband just round the block, and I just kept going round the block and round the roads local to me. And that went on for about a month, and I still wouldn't drive myself. Because my confidence had gone, and I built myself up, and so in the end I got to drive by myself, and now I'm fine. It's taken me up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago to get in the car and drive like a driver again, because I was like driving Miss Daisy. I was literally in the middle of the road at 20 miles an hour, scared that somebody was going to run into me. But now I've got my confidence back. And
so what was the very hardest part of all this journey that you've had, Lesley?
Oh, I think coming to terms with it, because I resented it so much. I had so much anger inside me. Why me? I'm too young for this. And so I really had to give myself a wobble, give me head a wobble, and just accept it, and be grateful for how far I've come, and realize that, you know, my life isn't over. There is life after a stroke. But you've got to do it for yourself. Do it for your family and your friends, but you've got to do it and be determined for yourself to work as hard as you can. Get as much help from everybody as you can. Stroke Association were great. I'm still under the acquired brain injury team, and a lady called Bernie looks after me, and she's been a fountain of information and support. The Citizens Advice are great. They can help you fill in forms. There's loads of help there. I've joined a group as well, a local group, who meet monthly. They're called HIP, which is Head Injury People. And it's people from all over the world. Meet once a month, and at first I thought, I'm not going to like this, you know, is it going to be people like, I've had a stroke, and you know, but it's not like that at all. Everyone is so supportive, and everyone's got different brain injuries. Like somebody's had a car crash, somebody had cancer, and we all talk and we know how each other really, truly feels, because I'm terrified that I'm going to have another stroke. And I was talking to a chap just last Friday, and he said to me, I'm terrified it's going to happen again. And I said, I feel exactly the same. I feel the same. And it was such a relief for somebody else to say that out loud. Yeah, that you're not alone. So I would say, talk to other people, get involved. It's amazing what things are, what information and support is out there. I joined Slimming World because I thought, I'm going to really seriously have to lose weight. So I've lost a stone, and then we had this competition just within our group to nominate Woman of the Year, and they nominated me, and I had to give a little speech about my journey. And I said, coming to Slimming World is not just about losing weight; it's still little personal challenges that nobody would ever know. It's a challenge for me just to step onto those scales because my balance is no good. We have a raffle, so I said, folding the raffle tickets is a challenge to me because I can't feel my fingers. I said, so it's just little things like this. The day that I went to the supermarket on my own and filled my trolley with loads of fruit and veg, that was a milestone to me because I was able to go out on my own. Yeah, I could only do one aisle of shopping, but I did it on my own, and yeah, that was a triumph. So they voted me as Woman of the Year, and I got a sash, and I was so proud.
You're our Woman of the Year, definitely. Definitely.
Well, even folding raffle tickets. I mean, you say about that, but that's not only a therapy, but that's also some rehabilitation going on there as well.
Exactly. There's all little things that you can do all day, every day, when you just sitting down. Move your feet, move your fingers, practice your speech. I was so lucky that I didn't lose my speech. I mean, that must be horrendous if you can't communicate. I was so lucky.
The Stroke Association have this sort of short word FAST, don't they? To look out for a stroke. F being face, A being arm, S being speech, T being time. But in your case, you had no symptoms. It just
nothing
happened.
Like that. Yeah, just totally out of the blue. And as I said before, all the other patients that I came across in all the wards that I was on, there was only 3 people who had those typical FAST symptoms. Everybody was different. Yeah,
it's going to show how our human body is, doesn't it? We're all different, and I know, like you said, you worry it's going to happen again, but I think with the way you've come forward, it's easy for me to sit here and say, don't think about it, because I'm sure Patrick does, because he's had 2 heart attacks as well.
Yeah, I've got to stay positive.
Yes, that's our motto.
And there's things that I'm doing. I'm looking after my health. I'm losing weight. I'm keeping my blood pressure under control, and I check it at home, and the GP keeps a check on it as well. I avoid stress because mine was stress related. Just try and avoid stress. It really doesn't matter.
Since you've had the stroke, do you look at life differently then and realise that you're getting stressed over things you don't need to get stressed over?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And much more laid back. I used to worry about everything. I was a worrier, and I was a fixer. And I always tried to fix everybody else's problems as well. And now it's just stay calm. I'm just grateful and thankful that I'm here as I am today. I don't take my life for granted anymore. I'm present in the moment. I enjoy everything. I'm just grateful for my family and my friends. I'm not embarrassed to ask for help.
Yeah, good.
You should never be embarrassed to ask for help and talk to other people and talk about how you feel. And I've learned that after a stroke, you can continue to recover for years and years after. It might just be small little things that you notice. I still notice things now that I couldn't do a couple of months ago. I can do now. I can stand in the kitchen long enough to make a whole meal now, whereas before I'd have to sit on a stool. I still get tired and I still do have to sit on a stool, but I can stand longer. My husband still has to help me shower and get dressed because I still can't get my arm in my clothes. I can't get my arm above my head and things like that. And credit to him, he's been absolutely amazing. And I did used to resent the fact that I relied on him and relied on everybody else. But you just have to come to terms with it.
Well, they love you, Lesley, so, people will do this for you,
Yeah. I just surround myself with positivity.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to believe in myself, because the brain is a wonderful thing. It's amazing how it's healed itself. And my motto is, be kind to everybody, but be kind to myself as well. You've got to be kind to yourself. Live your life. Be grateful for today, because really, honestly, tomorrow's not guaranteed.
No.
And you've got to live for today.
I'll tell you what, Lesley, you've highlighted a lot more things that I didn't really know. And
bringing it all back is quite stressful. I kind of draw a line under it.
Well, we don't want to get you stressed, that's for sure.
But honestly, if anybody can take anything from what I've said, then that's amazing.
I'm sure they will. And as I said, Linny, my wife, she certainly has. You've led by example to her to get her blood pressure checked. And I urge everybody, if they feel like that, we don't know we can't tell what's happening in our bodies. So the only way to do it is to get it checked.
You're not alone when you think, is it going to happen to me again? That's just natural. That's a natural thought process, because, when I had my first heart attack, and even the second one, every little twinge you get in your chest, you think, oh, is this it? And I'm sure you must feel the same when you get a headache.
Exactly. As soon as I get a pain in my head, I think, oh, God, is it going to happen again? Yeah, but you have to put it into perspective, not panic, talk to myself and say, this is not realistic. The chances of it happening again are slim.
Yeah.
So, and then just positivity, talk to myself positively.
If you get a headache, then are you allowed to take normal over-the-counter painkillers?
Yeah. I can have paracetamol and cocodamol. Yeah, that's what I take.
Other brands are available.
Yeah.
Well, Lesley, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you were brilliant. You really, really were.
It's a very interesting story, and I'm sure that will help many people.
Oh, I hope so.
There's no doubt about it. It's the positivity and the and your willpower to strive to get to where you are today is certainly what's driven you.
Sheer determination.
It's brilliant what you've done.
Yeah, and help from everybody, because it's been a team effort. It really has. I haven't done it by myself. Everybody's helped me, all my family and my friends, and I just can't thank them enough as well. They've been amazing.
I'm sure they're going to listen to this and they'll hear what you're going to say what you just said to them. So
all the professionals that have helped me along the way too. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lesley.
Thank you, Lesley, and
all the best.
Stay bright.
You. Yeah, I will do. Thank you. Bye for now. Love you loads.
Yeah, love you loads. Bye.
Bye for now.
Yep. Thank you very much for that, Lesley. That was an amazing interview. What did you think about that, Martin? Wasn't that open and honest?
I tell you what, it really opened my eyes. I mean, you just don't know what's going on in people's, minds and things like that when they have these things. And certainly Lesley touched on every single thing that people need to know when they have a stroke, and the rehabilitation as well was, marvelous. How quick it was.
That's quite interesting that she's gone through the same sort of emotions and feelings that we've all gone through, really. About will it happen again? And you've gone through that and as well, haven't you? And
because you think, although I got rid of it, it's come back, and then you think, will it? Yeah, and likewise with yourself. So,
and it did knock her confidence about driving as well. I mean, I can see why, because obviously she's lost the left hand side, so she's probably thinking, what happens in an emergency if I need to do something that I normally do and I can't?
Yeah.
Did that knock your confidence when you but you've been driving all through yours, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I've driven myself to chemo appointments, but I have to be careful because I don't go recklessly. Although I did I got a little ticket the other day.
You did. And now you know why the policeman was smiling at you as you drove past him.
Yeah, I know, because he knew he'd got me, the nasty person.
I can't believe he thought he was smiling at you because he liked you.
No. Anyway, what have we got next week?
I don't know. That'll be me and you, I think.
I think so. Yeah, we'll have a little chat, shall we?
Yeah, because we've got quite a few guests lined up, so it's nice to have these little catch-ups and chats. And, we'll perhaps have a bit of progress on how you're getting on, because you've just gone through your second bout of chemo, so you can tell us all about that.
Yeah.
And how you felt on the recovery stages this time.
Yeah, because they've both been, so we'll talk about it next week, because both recovery weeks or times, the 3 weeks have been different.
Yeah.
And certainly this time has been a lot better. So I'll keep people informed.
And I'll say, have a good week.
And I'll say the same to you, ditto.
Thanks for your hospitality today.
Yes, thank you. That's my pleasure. And thanks very much for listening, everybody.
Yeah. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Stay safe. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.